hello, everybody, and welcome to JCon Online 2022. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate that. And then once again, thanks for joining my session. So first of all, I'm going to share my screen here. So that is the hardest part for the online conference at all. Okay. So hopefully everybody see my screen here, and I'm going to change my slide deck to presentation mode. All right, here we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the integration testing with the Quarkus for the next 40 minutes, almost 50 minutes. Okay, so once again, thanks for joining my session today. So let me talk about myself just real quick. So my name is Daniel. I'm working for Red Hat as a developer advocate, specialized with the cloud native runtimes, which is Spring Boot, Quarkus, and Node.js, like JavaScript stuff. And I've been spent a lot of time to bring this cloud native runtime into Kubernetes cluster, specifically use cases such as serverless and service mesh and GitOps practice like Argo CD and Tecton pipeline, etc. I'm also responsible for CNCF ambassador to evangelize for many developers as well as SRE and Cross Academy in terms of how to build their cloud native application on top of multiple cloud and a hybrid cloud with the Kubernetes and CNCF ecosystem. And here is my bunch of stuff, like my Twitter. You can follow me, Daniel030. And my business URL, Daniel.TV, my YouTube channel. I already uploaded more than 100 technical video. I'm going to real quick introduce at the end of the session as well. And here my GitHub repository. Yeah, feel free to subscribe me and follow me and clone my example application from then. Feel free, whatever you need. All right. So everybody's doing is develop application. That's my topic today. And here's a big, maybe inconvenient truth here between dev and production. So maybe you can imagine compared to DevOps, and then you maybe have heard about a lot of time, there's a big wall between dev and ops. The reason why I'm going to say today, the developer always looking for the easiest way and a better way, quicker way to stand up the application ecosystem, like a technology stack to develop Microsoft's application, even monolithic application. So here is a quick example. So if you need to develop and implement CRUD, like a data transaction, it is a logic on your application, like regardless of Java, .NET, or Python Go. And then you need to have the database, like a data store. So for example, production, you're going to have like a RDBMS, like Oracle, PostgreSQL, even NoSQL database, like a MongoDB. However, you don't want to stand up the kind of same database on your local machine. Maybe you can just download the software and install it on your operating system. For me, like a Mac OS. For you, like a Windows operating system, or Linux, like a RHEL, Fedora, whatever you need. However, more maybe easiest way, you can just use in-memory database like a HE2 database. You don't need to install, even you don't need to pull image and run it with like a container runtime. This is a pretty easiest way as well as a common practice for developer. However, even if you confirm, verify your business capability and functionality on your local environment, and then once you deploy the application using your CI/CD pipeline or your build infrastructure, maybe you got some error from your SR team or cross admin because there are different technologies that, for example, like I said, a lot of the company already moved forward to cloud based on Kubernetes is with the immutable infrastructure. And now you're in local environment using in-memory database like a HE2. However, production environment, you gotta use the PostgreSQL or the RDBMS as a container on top of the Kubernetes. This is a huge gap between dev and production. That's why we need to some kind of integration testing to break down the wall between dev and production. Maybe it's not your responsibility as a developer. It's more like a QA team or testing team or like a pre-product team. However, if you could have some kind of capability, reduce the integration testing burden from your another team, like a SRE team or a QA team. And then if you could verify the business function at the very beginning on your local environment, as well as the just make the same technology stack, that would be awesome for developer, as well as in the end, it will increase your software quality and the performance, and also reduce your money for the testing and effort and time. All right, so how do you do that? So let's say we're going to use Java program language, and then how do you do that? You can also have a multiple like a libraries or third-party tool to add on your like a test-driven development, like a check style or like another third-party tool implement your application framework. However, today I'm going to really talk about Quarkus. Quarkus is a Java framework. It's focused on Kubernetes native Java application, which means whatever you develop microservices application, in the end, you're going to deploy that application into Kubernetes as cloud, like a single cloud, multi-cloud, or hybrid cloud. And the Quarkus, we're going to say supersonic subatomic. And then because the Quarkus enables Java developer to build applications small, tiny, and then really be fast. I'm going to showcase that kind of stuff in a minute with my live demo. So here's a really interesting capability and feature on Quarkus for developer for the integration testing in your local environment. So zero configuration setup with the dev services. So I'm pretty sure some of the developer already know and heard about the test containers. So whatever you, some kind of backend system, like a database or a messaging broker, you can use the test container in the running in container as your container engine, for example, Docker and Podman, and then your application connect to that containerized backend server, like a database and messaging server, etc. And then you can add that test container feature on your Java project, like a Maven, Gradle module, etc. However, you need to add some kind of configuration specification, as well as you need to update your Maven POM XML or Gradle configuration. However, Quarkus by default provide dev services or whatever you add relevant Quarkus extension. Here is the quick example what kind of database you can use. Dev service based on test container, like a PostgreSQL and a MySQL, MariaDB, and a MS SQL Server. And then you can also like IBM DB2 and even Oracle database. That's not the end. So Quarkus provides so many different technology stack for dev services. For example, how to secure your application, like using single-sided server based on key-clock server, and a messaging broker, like an AMQ, and then in-memory database, like a Redis Infinite Span, and a graphical database, like a Neo4j, and then like a business automation, Cozito, and then Epicure for design your API, as well as your distributed streaming services with the Kafka server. And then you can also want to sometime secure your data itself, like a sensitive information, like a database password or token using HashiCorp Vault. There are so many different dev services you can use to test in the synchronized technology stack between dev and production environment. Okay, I'm gonna just start my boring presentation and get right into the demo how it works and how to do that for developer sample. So here's my local environment. So you can actually use the Quarkus code.quarkus.io. Go to quarkus.io. This is your official page. Here we are, quarkus.io, and then go to starting code. And then this is just a project generator page. You can change the group ID and artifact ID. You can select a build tool like a Maven Gradle or Gradle the Kotlin, and you can choose Java 17 or 11, and then you can edit it like a sample application, and there are a bunch of extension which is like a business capability. I want to develop REST easy application, and then a reactive application or database transaction, and something like using Hibernate ORM and then Panache. And also there are so many cloud, and there are more than 500 extensions you can use today. Okay. However, I'm going to try to use a different tool like a Quarkus CLI, which allows me have a more convenient way to create the application, build application, and I don't need to remember all Maven command line parameter, etc. What great thing, because the Quarkus CLI gives me automation thing to automatically complete your command line, etc. Here we go. We're gonna create a new Quarkus project name is dev Joey, and then I'm gonna add at the very beginning something like JDBC PostgreSQL, because I'm gonna use PostgreSQL, and then here's the Hibernate ORM. You already know that Hibernate ORM allows the developer to have database mapping for our DBMS like a PostgreSQL and Oracle database. And the Panache is a pretty interesting project already integrated with the Hibernate ORM, which allows you just skip fundamental operation method. For example, you need to retrieve all data, and you need to add the data setter, your Java beans to mapping your database data and your Java beans. You just need to, you don't need to that kind of stuff with the Panache. And then here the REST easy Jackson to consume and provide the JSON format data when you retrieve the data from your PostgreSQL database. So I'm going to switch it another terminal, and then I'm going to just check it out by running process of the container. I don't have any process running at a time. When you run this create a new project, it automatically generates some stuff like a Maven wrapper and a configuration and a Docker file in case you want to deploy this application to Kubernetes, and the sample application REST easy core stuff. I'm going to open the new project with my ID tool, and also let's go, and then so here you go to POM XML, and then you can see we just released this morning 2.12.3, the race Quarkus version, and then go to source directory, and you can see the sample application automatically generated, which is some RESTful API, extra hello and return hello. That's easy, pretty cool. And then we have one single property file, but there's nothing in there, just empty. So this is just hello world application, pretty simple. And then go back here, change my directory. And the first step, I'm gonna run Quarkus Dev, which is Quarkus Dev. It's running Quarkus demo, which allows developer to have live coding capability. What does that mean, live coding? So whenever you change the code, it automatically compile, build, and redeploy and restart the runtime, just like a Node.js. Not going to happen for the 2 decades in Java world, but now you have that kind of capability like a JavaScript or Node.js on Java world, which is really cool. So now you can see your profile and dev active code activated, and then change the terminal. Let's try to run the Docker process. Now because 2 container is running, one is a PostgreSQL, the other container, a test container. However, I didn't even try to run Docker CLI to run PostgreSQL. I didn't add any kind of test container stuff. As long as you added the relevant extension, for example, here, I already added it like a JDBC PostgreSQL. It allows me to run test container as well as PostgreSQL automatically, which is really cool. And then back to the here, and I'm going to press the W from my runtime. It automatically open the landing page in the Quarkus. When I click on endpoint, here's the hello REST easy, and back to the dev UI, and then visit dev UI. This is a graphical UI for developer to figure out what kind of dependency and extension you already have, and then you can change the configuration. You also have read-only terminal view roles, and you can start continual testing, which is a really cool thing. So everybody is doing like a test-driven development, but a lot of developers try to skip adding a unit test because it takes some time, and then they have time to do that. And then you can see here's the test case, it succeed, and with the green color. When you go to terminal window, you can see one test passing. What do you mean actually here? Back to the application and target directory, not a test directory. Here is a test scenario already added when you generate project with the Quarkus CLI, endpoint test, and the hello rest easy. So when I go back to here application, you can actually try to access that application. Hello. And now you got a hello rest easy. So I'm going to try to change my application like hello jcon 22. I just save a file, and back to here, I'm going to just invoke one time. I got a new result. In the meantime, I never ever try to rebuild, compile, and as well as redeploy, restart my application. Quarkus automatically done that as a live coding capability, which is really awesome. And then when I back to the my runtime, I got some error because I already turned it on my continuous testing, which allows me to recognize some kind of unit test of failure. So because actual return is a hello JCOM, so my business functionality is still working. However, I failed my unit test. This is not a big deal in this demo. However, in your reality, maybe sometimes you skip your test cases and then you just push the code into your code source control repository, which is like a GitHub. And then that application code automatically deployed to your production in next 3 minutes using your fantastic CI/CD pipeline, like a Tecton, Jenkins, whatever they call. And it ruined entire microservices, maybe because of one failure or your microservice is like a happening cascading failure. So this is just, the reason why the test-driven development is super important thing on your daily life. But it's really hard to enable some kind of test-driven capability on your Java framework. So that's people, a lot of developers just skip it. However, if you use Quarkus Java framework, you just turn it on, turn it off, this continuous testing capability, which is really awesome. Now let's try to fix the problem. Go to here, and then I'm going to change it to JCon, and J2, and then it's correlation, and then back to here. Now I got some succeed. If I change it, maybe Mr. this one exclamation mark, you got some still error. If you go to Dev UI, and then you can also have the same error here. Also, you can click on detail, test result, and you got the same result here. So whatever you prefer way to have the graphical UI, GUI, or terminal window, you can still recognize your test scenario failure or succeed whenever you change the code, which is the code. Okay, I'm going to back to my application and just save a file. But some people are a little bit suspicious. Is it really working whenever I add a new method, even class to continue testing and live coding? My answer is yes, totally. So let's try to add a new test case here. So I'm going to try to copy this one, and let's change the method name like a greeting here, and a new endpoint like a greeting. And then let's say hello 22. And then add a comma, and then like I say, my name Daniel. I just save a file test case, and then back to my terminal window, you got some error 404, which means I just added a new test case, but there is no actual business resources to map this test case. That's why we have a 404 error. So now I'm going to try to implement new REST API along with the test-driven development pattern. Let's say added a new endpoint here, has just like a greeting, and then let's say change the method name here, because I just click on this endpoint automatically is go to the web browser. Okay, and then let's try to add the name like a username here. All right. Save a file, and then I'm not going to add the hard code. So the common practice, I just read the name from my local file system, like a configuration, and then like try to different one. config properly here, name, username, and then let's try to string username. Let's just say a file, and back to the terminal, and then got some another error. Here we go. So fail to load the configuration and the username because I set the username, but there's no username key and value. Application property, and then my name is Dan. I save a file, and then now you got to succeed. We test a path, which is cool. And then let's try to endpoint really. And now we got a new hello jcon 2022 Dan, which is really cool. In the meantime, you already figured out I just keep adding my business logic new method, and then in the meantime, live code is still working, which means I don't need to recompile, rebuild, restart, and redeploy. As well as I gotta keep recognize some error message as part of test-driven development, which is really cool. And then back to the UI, and here's the you can configure it, or you can find all configuration, not only application side but also build time, and there are a bunch of the application here. So let me try to change my application, my full name, Daniel. I just save a file. Back to the terminal and try to invoke REST API. You got a new return. What happened in there? Because when I go back to my application local file system, it already changed Daniel automatically. When I change the web UI, it automatically changes your local file as well. However, you got some error because we didn't change the endpoint in test cases. Now let's try to fix the problem here. Daniel, save file, and then we got two cases to succeed, and then application still working. So this is a common practice how to do test-driven development with the continuous testing, live coding, which is really cool with the Quarkus stuff. All right. So now I'm going to add a database stuff here. So in order to that, I need to add a new entity class, let's say like a person. And then I'm gonna make this class Java PostgreSQL look at entity here. And then maybe I'm gonna make it cacheable, make it better performance, and then extend panache entity. So and then I'm gonna need to add two the attribute like a name here, and the other is my address, something like location. That's it. That's all I want to do. It's cool. I don't need to add a getter setter or the fundamental operation like a restore and find by ID because the panache entity automatically provide the abstraction of that. So let's try to add a new method here, here, and I'm not going to use the text plain. In this case, I'm going to return the JSON format, and then a new return like a person. I'm going to return the list type person, and then let's say I'm going to try to return all data here, and then just return person and list all. That's it. Not here. List all. Here we go. So it's pretty simple. I don't need to implement because it's already there. Because you can see it's all from panache entity. You can find all method list, all find stream, etc. Okay, let's try to add one more the method here, like a find by a specific unique ID. Here we go, and then I just need one person data, not list type. Go and then let's try to new method name, and I need to parameter pass parameter. There we go. Let's say ID. And then ID. Okay, cool. And now I'm gonna try to find ID. Okay, and then that's it. Cool. So now I just implement two methods to restore all data and then just filter specific ID. And then I'm going to try to add a new SQL statement here, like a PostgreSQL import and insert into person database and the values. And then next for our sequence is we're going to use the hibernate sequence. And then, so my name is Daniel. I'm based in Boston, by the way. So I'm going to add data. Let's try to add a few more data here. Jan, it's New York City, and team, like San Francisco. Okay, I just edit that kind of stuff. And now I'm going to try to access new endpoint. And now we got some data automatically install in a save that file. And let's try to access data, Daniel, and then that's not here. This is it. So I just added all kind of stuff. I just keep adding my business logic to create the data and retrieve data with the PostgreSQL data because the PostgreSQL already running on my local environment. And then, but in the meantime, I just need to keep adding that kind of thing, like a business logic rather than like running how to run my PostgreSQL database using Docker CLI or Docker file or Docker pull, and then a lot of stuff. I just skip it all kind of thing. But I can still have a continual testing, like coding. And then more important thing is I just keep using PostgreSQL data, which is exactly the same technology stack on production environment. So let's try to deploy this application into Kubernetes. So today I already have my Kubernetes environment, which is a Red Hat Developer Sandbox. My name's DOH Dev. So here's my sandbox, DOH Dev, same namespace, and then there's nothing in there. So when you go to developers at redhat.com, and then there are a free sign up for Kubernetes cluster, which is a developer sandbox. And then go to developer sandbox, click on build your application here. And then it's based on OpenShift, which is built in Kubernetes. And once you sign in for free, you got a 30 days free Kubernetes cluster. So I'm going to use this one today. And then in order to deploy my application, I need to add OpenShift extension, which allows me, I'm going to change it right directory. And then once again, and then it allows me packaging this application and deploy it to Kubernetes. So let's try to add proper configuration here. The first of all, we're going to use a database here. So let's try the post database here. This is the actual production configuration. Let's try to say the database name schema is person, and I'm gonna try to create a new schema, and then I'm gonna delete the dev because this is a production thing here, and the username, user, password is super secret, and I also needed to import the load script here is import support. That's it. That's all I needed for how to access the actual database in production, which is Kubernetes. And also I need to add a few more compilation, how to deploy this application to Kubernetes. I'm going to deploy Kubernetes true. And also what kind of Kubernetes I'm going to use today is Kubernetes, but I'm going to use OpenShift today. So I'm going to try OpenShift. And then I'm gonna export the route URL, which is some application URL automatically generate access that RESTful API from my local to remote Kubernetes cluster. Just like a vanilla Kubernetes had ingress nginx, but OpenShift cluster, which has the HTTP proxy, HA proxy to create like a application and URL to access your application from external. Okay, and then I'm going to add one more thing, client trust served in true. So this is allowing me to use a self-certificate for TLS termination. So developer sandbox use the open source certificate for TLS termination. That's why I'm going to set it true for the TLS termination for usage. So that's it. That's how I'm done. And then one thing is maybe you need to consider about. So once you deploy application to Kubernetes, and then sometimes you got some notified, oh, from your cloud admin team or SR team, hey, we got some error when we deploy your application into Kubernetes on the production. Can you investigate the error? But when you try to execute production application like, as a pod, it's already gone because the beauty of the Kubernetes is automatically kill and restore like a replication or test check capability. So it's really not easy to find the relevant log at a time. Maybe you can go to like your third-party log infrastructure aggregator, like a Elastic, Searchy, or Dynatrace, or SysD, or your file server. However, if you could have live coding capability on the Kubernetes cluster, just like you have in your local environment, which is really cool. It's more reduce your testing or troubleshooting burden as well. So let's try to set that kind of thing before we deploy this application, like a packaging type. It's basically the Linux container provide two capability for us, like immutability and portability. And then whenever you deploy application as a container pod, you cannot change that at all. Technically, when you exit it and go inside the container pod, and then you can change that. But whenever the pod is a restart and a kill and a restore, your change thing is gone. Reset everything. That's why we call immutability. And now we're gonna make it that thing as immutable for live coding. And then I'm going to library load password. This is only working between my local to remote cluster. And also I need to set that what is target pod. We're going to update the once we deploy. And then one more thing is Quarkus OpenShift and environment variable first, and then Quarkus and launch then mode. Sure. Okay, that's it. And then back to here. Let's try to now build, and I'm going to skip unit test to save my demo time. So this is going to be happen multiple steps. First of all, we're going to packaging the thin jar, like a fast jar in the Quarkus side. So create like a jar file here. You can see. And now we're going to create a container image based on like a Docker file. As you can see, the Docker file automatically generate here for the running on JVM. The other one is native file. Because the Quarkus enable Java developer to build and packaging application as a native executable as well as the traditional Java file. Once you packaging native executable using like a Maven packaging dash profile native, it automatically creates a native executable file, which is super tiny and then fast startup time. For example, if you have a RESTful API like hello world, you can start a Java file like a half a second. However, you can start native executable like a 10 milliseconds. It's almost like a 30 times faster startup time. And also memory footprint almost 100 megabyte with the Java file, but native executable like a 13 or 10 times less than memory footprint, which is really awesome. That's why we call supersonic subatomic Quarkus for Kubernetes environment. So we're going to use the, we're not going to use a native compilation at this time because it takes a little bit more time rather than general application. So that's why we're going to just create a new container image and the relevant OpenShift manifest, such as image stream, like an image metadata, and the build config, how to build your application, and deployment config or deployment in Kubernetes manifest. So this is how to what happens when you run just single command line. You're not going to try to create a Docker file, or you're not going to try to create like a YAML file, like a Kubernetes stuff, like a Kubernetes JSON, Kubernetes YAML, OpenShift YAML, that kind of thing is automatically generate and run this kind of stuff using kubectl or OC command line to deploy application. So I just done and back to the application here. And now we got a one single Quarkus application. And here the automatically generate now URL. Let's copy the URL. And then back to the build logs. This is the build logs. And then let's try to pod logs. Okay. So, oh, we got some error. Of course, we don't have any database here. So I just brought it. And then let's try to create two new database here to access database. And then let's try to PostgreSQL. And here we go. And the database name person. And then user, the user, and then password is super secret. And then database name person. Okay, so we're gonna actually change that label, make it clarify this is the PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL okay. File, and now we got PostgreSQL. And then I just make this one. Okay, let's try to. Okay, it's pretty cool. And then back to the application. So let's try to just kill the pod and then just reload. And to try to connect to the application, to database. So now we got a new one. So hopefully it's working. And then the the Quarkus is startup. And now here we go. And here we go. So new database is automatically created, and then the live coding actually activated here, which is cool. Back to here, and then go to terminal. Let's try to access the endpoint. For example, hello, and then now hello JCon 2022. What about the GUI? Just like the same result. Hello JCon 22 Daniel, which is the same result we have in the local environment. Let's try to go to like a person database. And then we got a 3, Daniel Jan team, and then like a 3, which is the team's San Francisco. So I just confirm, verify my application is totally working on my local and dev environment. So what we could maybe just imagine that, let's say we got some error in the production, and then like a troubleshooting stuff. So I'm going to go back to my application property here, and then uncomment and save the endpoint, and then I'm going to start my local runtime, and then try to run Quarkus remote to dev. I'm not going to say you're going to already use the remote to dev from local to your production like a Kubernetes, because maybe it's just a little bit dangerous, because you're going to something change, it automatically apply for that kind of change in production right away. So, but I would say maybe you can use like a pre-product with the same technology stack with the Kubernetes, which is really cool. So contact the remote server right now. And then back to my ID. Let's try to change the application. For example, so the Quarkus icon, and with the Quarkus, save a file, and then back to the terminal. And hello. And then at a time, when you go back to runtime, it automatically detect the change the file like a class file, and then packaging new jar, and then sending to Kubernetes. And now we got a new return result. Because this is not my local, it's actually running on Kubernetes. And then if you can also change anything else, like an application, like a Daniel, or I can change the name, and then change the security. And then you can see, so property file detected here, and then sending it to Kubernetes directly. And we got a new result, which is cool. And then what about we change my import SQL file? We can actually change that. And then change the new one. And what about just say like a John, and then from where like a maybe just ours on ours and save a file back to here, and then first person should be force record, and I can try to that back to here. You can find import SQL detecting and sending, and now we got a new record here. You can also person, and then it automatically provide all kind of thing, which is cool. So this is a huge benefit for developer how to make it fancier testing process from local to integration testing into production environment. Okay, pretty cool. So I'm going to stop remote to them. I'm going to show you one more thing. So what if you needed to add like a security on your application? For example, I need to secure my RESTful API, not random people. It's more like some specific people, like with a role-based access control. So in order to that, I'm going to add OpenID to connect. And also I need to use Swagger UI to access RESTful UI. Swagger UI. Here we go. So I just added two kind of stuff, and then I'm going to run my Quarkus Dev, and then it automatically download the new container based on Keycloak, because whenever you add OpenID Connect or Keycloak and like a security extension, it automatically try to download like a Keycloak server. And then when you run Docker process once again, and then now here a database. Oh, one more thing, actually. So properly, you already set up this kind of stuff. So which means the Quarkus expect not going to use Dev Services. So I'm going to try to just comment back to here and try to rerun. And then it automatically start database container as well as the Keycloak server container for your Dev Services. So let's try to verify the application. Once you stop that the Quarkus Dev mode, it automatically terminate your test container and relevant Dev service, which is cool. You don't need to use a Docker kill or Docker stop at all. So the new just Keycloak server downloaded and then try to run, and then database also running, and then here we go. Let's try to rerun. Now we have a 3 container, test container, Keycloak, and PostgreSQL. Let's try to revisit our Dev UI. And then here is the Dev Services. And you can see the relevant configuration for Keycloak automatically set it up, and database also automatically set it up. So this is the secret sauce of how to do that. And then one more thing is pretty interesting here, the build step. You can see what kind of happening when you run the application, the Quarkus stuff. And here's execution and what kind of stuff at the very beginning start. And then in the end, there's no, there's some the necessary like a deco illumination is gone. Okay, so back to here. And then I'm going to try to add a few more stuff. For example, back to the application, I'm going to allow anyone can access my Hello REST API and greeting. However, I need to allow only admin node, for example, here, needed to admin node access the whole data, and only the user node can access the specific data. Okay, I just save a file and back to the terminal. And then here, let's try to access 8080 and hello. I can access that. What about the greeting? Because I can access that. However, what about the person? I can't access the I don't have the authorization. And then what about the specific ID? I can't do that either. So in order to that, I need to request access token for auth, like an OpenID Connect stuff. In order to that, you can request the access token using call command or postman, etc. However, Quarkus Dev UI actually provides such a great tool. When you click on, here we go, Keycloak, it actually provides Keycloak admin and the default password and username admin, and you go to the the one Quarkus RAM already created with the user and the group. There's a two user, Alice and Bob. Alice has two group roles, like admin and user. And the Bob actually go to here is only user group. And then back to the dev UI, you can actually log in a single page application to check your thing. Let's try to use the Bob first. And then you can go to hello, and then you can find the access token. So here the green color thing is the actual your access token, and you can have an ID token here. Let's try to access the hello, and you got a 200. And then you can also automatically integrate Swagger UI from Dev UI. So let's try to use it hello, and then I can try it out, execute it, and then we got a, like a hello JCon 2020. So what about the other one, like a person, and then try out and execute it, and then you got some forbid error because the Bob doesn't have any permission as admin permission. However, you can go to a person ID, try out like a number one, which is Daniel. You can see, so Daniel is here. So if you log out and then re-log in, for example, log out and then log in with Alice, and then go to Swagger UI once again, and then go to person and try out and execute it. Now you got the whole data. So you can also keep using like a postman or call command to get access to token. When I go back to my runtime, you can actually see the token just is automatically printed out. So the Quarkus provide multiple dev services to reduce integration testing because you don't need to stop class or method to verify your secure application because you already stand up the secure single sign-on server like a Keycloak, and you can also stand up PostgreSQL database just like your production environment. I'm not gonna try to deploy this application with the Keycloak in the developer sandbox at a time because I don't have enough time. However, you can actually try to Keycloak server based on Red Hat single sign-on. This is a Keycloak server. You can actually deploy this kind of thing, and also there are a bunch of stuff you can actually to do that. So this is all I have for today's demo. Well, let me try to summarize today's thing. In the meantime, is there any question in there? Okay, I think this is good. Okay, so here's a quick resources about that. So if you're really interested in like a Java serverless application development, here's the really quick tutorial in the DZone reference card, how to start your Java serverless application function development with the Quarkus thing. So you can just go to DZone and search it, this Quarkus serverless keyword, and then you can find the bunch of tutorial, how to deploy application to Kubernetes as well as like Amazon Web thing. And once again, here's my bit.ly URL and the QR code, just scanning, and then I already uploaded more than 100 to 200 like a video around the Quarkus and a specific use case and a solution pattern, like a serverless and a function and a DevOps, and a Kubernetes example, like how to develop application, deploy to Kubernetes using Kubernetes resources. And feel free to subscribe my channel and ask me anything you want, like a technical video, demo, and tutorial. I'm more than happy to address at the end. That's it. That's all I have today. I'm almost done. And then, so I'm just checking the Q&A right now here. So the chat room. So I don't think I have any specific question today. And then I see the next presenter, Eric Andrea, one of my best friends, and then he's gonna do the great, awesome thing the next session. Please stay tuned, and then he's gonna do showcase a really awesome thing in Quarkus Antonio and the really cool stuff. Okay, so if we have any question around the Quarkus and then and the serverless, even Kubernetes and the CNC project, feel free to reach out to me directly, like a Twitter and my YouTube channel, and I'm more than happy to address your question. Thanks all, and thanks again attending my session, and I hope you enjoyed my demo and enjoy the rest of JCon. Have a good one.